Welcome back. 17 minutes after the hour, former President Trump canceling a campaign rally in North Carolina last night due to severe weather. It was set to be his first planned rally since his criminal trial got underway in New York. Opening statements set to begin just about 24 hours from now, and Trump wasting no time slamming the proceedings. The former president posting on Truth Social, calling it a scam, rushed trial, and a coordinated witch hunt. Congressional reporter for The Hill, Michael Schnell, is live in Washington, D.C. Good morning to you. Thanks for being with us. And Michael.
Hey, Anna, good morning.
Good morning. So Trump only has one day during the week, plus the weekends, that he can campaign while his criminal trial is underway. So how much does last night's canceled event really hurt the former president's campaign? He's promising people in Wilmington he's going to hold a similar event later, but, I mean, does this make him lose momentum?
I mean, it's not helpful, Anna. Look, you laid it out right there how this schedule works. New York law requires that the former president is present for this criminal trial during the days that it's ongoing. So that's about 4 days a week. So that just leaves him one day during the week and then the 2 days on the weekends to crisscross the nation and talk to voters and campaign. Now, the cancellation of last night's rally in North Carolina obviously isn't helpful because you knock out one of those 3 crucial days where he's able to campaign. So again, at the end of the day, it's not helpful. But I think that we could see the former president do is try to spin this in his positive direction, right? Even though he's been in the courtroom, he's spoken in the hallway before, we've heard from him afterwards. And the former president throughout his political career has really tried to frame himself as a victim. The politicized Justice Department is going after him. That is something that really revs up his base, galvanizes his base. So if he continues with that idea, that could help him in the long run. But look, Anna, really quickly, the split screen here is fascinating. While Trump was in court and then unable to hold his rally, President Biden was in Pennsylvania speaking to voters in that key swing state. So as we see this trial continue in the next weeks and months, Trump is going to spend more time in the courtroom. Biden, way more time on the campaign trail.
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see him not just in that echoey hallway addressing cameras, but if he says, hey, at 5:45, meet me at another bodega or somewhere else to highlight, you know, what he would call Democratic failed policies in New York City, because there are certainly lots of examples that would resonate across the country. Wouldn't be surprised if we saw some of that since he got so much media from that. He knows how to spin it. Opening statements start tomorrow. What are you expecting?
Yeah, so we're going to hear both sides essentially lay out their case, lay out their argument in this criminal trial. We're going to hear a lot about the former president. Names like Stormy Daniels, Michael Cohen are definitely going to come up a number of times as we hear these opening statements. But Anna, something I'm curious to see is how the former president handles himself as the trial gets into this next phase. Of course, we heard from him and heard about how he was acting in the courtroom, falling asleep at some times during that during that jury selection process. But we're now entering a whole other phase when we get to the facts of the case and the arguments, something that can really get under the former president's skin. So I'm curious to see, in addition to hearing the arguments from both sides, seeing how the former president takes that and what his rhetoric looks like when he's speaking, whether it's in those hallways or at another bodega in the city.
Right. If only we had cameras inside the courtroom. I mean, formerly the most powerful man in the world, arguably, and now being forced to sit there and not be able to say anything. Wow. All right, let's switch gears and talk about this. President Biden is teaming up with former President Obama on a new digital ad campaign. Let's play a quick clip from it.
Folks, I phoned a friend to explain why your support is so important.
As someone who's run a few winning campaigns, I can tell you firsthand that nothing matters more than the support of grassroots donors.
There you go. So what do you think? Is this move going to help to attract donors? And how much does money really matter?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly could. Look, there's a YouGov running poll out there, running survey that shows you who the most popular figures in the Democratic Party are. Number 1 is Jimmy Carter, but very close in number 2 is former President Obama. He is beloved by Democrats. So that may be one reason why we're seeing the Biden campaign try to embrace him at this juncture. But then when you talk about the money game, that dash for cash, remember that fundraiser that Biden, Obama, and former President Bill Clinton held in New York City? that racked in $25 million. So the Biden campaign may see this grouping of the current president and former President Obama as a way to rake in that cash as we get closer to the November elections. So that could be a strategy here. Whether or not it will resonate, we have to see. But again, it was useful and helpful and effective during that fundraiser last month.
Yeah. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.